When Shalawa was born, she did not cry like other babies. Instead, she let out a soft hum, almost like a tune, that startled the midwives. Her mother, a joke, clutched the baby to her chest, feeling a strange warmth spread from her child. The women in the room whispered among themselves, their faces lined with worry. "She's a special one," said the eldest midwife, Mama Sadeh, her voice trembling. "Guard her closely, Ajoke. This child will bring both greatness and mystery." From that day, strange things began to happen in Ajoke's household. The chickens laid eggs twice their normal size. The yam harvest, which had been failing for years, suddenly flourished. But there were darker moments too. Ajoke's neighbor, who had mocked her during pregnancy, fell ill and could not recover. People began to say that Shalewa carried an aura, something otherworldly. By the time Shalewa could walk, her mother noticed something peculiar. The little girl hated shoes. No matter how beautiful the sandals or slippers were, Shalawa would throw them off and stomp around barefoot, her tiny feet pattering on the dirt floor. If anyone tried to force her to wear shoes, she would cry until the sky darkened and rain would pour, drenching the village in a sudden storm. As Shalawa grew older, her love for hair became obvious. At just 8 years old, she braided her mother's hair so beautifully that women from the village began to visit their home, asking for Shalawa's magical touch. Her hands moved like they had a mind of their own, creating patterns and styles no one had ever seen before. People marveled at how neat she kept her workspace. Even when 10 customers came in a day, her tiny corner in the house remained spotless. Not a strand of hair littered the floor. "She's blessed," the villagers would say, shaking their heads in wonder. But Ajoke began to notice something strange. Shalawa always asked her customers to remove their slippers before sitting down. At first, everyone thought it was a harmless quirk. "Maybe she just loves cleanliness," they said. But Ajoke couldn't shake the uneasy feeling in her chest. Years later, Shalewa became the owner of the largest salon in the city. The shop was called Barefoot Beauty Palace. It was unlike any other salon. The floors were tiled with pure white marble that sparkled like diamonds. The air was always filled with the sweet scent of lavender, and no matter how many customers trooped in, the place never got dirty. Women from all over the country traveled to Shalewa's salon to have their hair styled. Her creations were not just hairstyles, they were art. She could transform even the roughest hair into something fit for a queen. But there was one rule: no shoes or slippers allowed inside. At the entrance, there was a sign that read, "Step in with bare feet and step out with beauty." Some customers laughed when they first saw it, others hesitated, but once they removed their footwear and stepped inside, they were captivated by the magic of the salon. One day, a wealthy woman named Madame Dupe visited the salon. She had heard so much about Shalewa and wanted to experience her magical touch. But when she reached the door and saw the no-shoes rule, she frowned. "Why must I remove my shoes? This is nonsense," Madame Dupe said, her voice sharp. Shalewa, dressed in a flowing Ankara gown that hugged her wide hips and emphasized her graceful movements, approached Madame Dupe with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "It's the rule, Ma," she said softly but firmly. "No shoes are allowed." Madame Dupe hesitated, but eventually gave in. As she stepped barefoot into the salon, she felt a strange sensation under her feet, like the floor was alive and breathing. She shook off the feeling, thinking it was her imagination. At night, after the last customer had left, Shalewa locked the salon and stood in the center of the room. Her bare feet pressed against the cold marble floor, and she began to hum the same tune she had hummed as a baby. The floor beneath her began to glow faintly, and faint whispers filled the air. The whispers were the voices of her customers, every person who had ever stepped into her salon with bare feet. "Thank you for your sacrifice," Shalewa whispered, her voice heavy with something dark and ancient. The whispers faded and the glow disappeared, leaving the salon as spotless as ever. One night, Shalewa's closest friend, Tolu, decided to uncover the mystery of the no-shoes rule. She had known Shalewa since childhood and had always found her obsession with bare feet strange. Pretending to forget, Tolu wore her sandals into the salon after hours and hid behind a curtain to watch. What she saw made her heart race. Shalewa stood in the middle of the salon, her eyes closed as the floor seemed to come alive. A faint light emanated from the tiles, and Tolu could hear whispers, hundreds of voices, all speaking at once. The whispers grew louder until they became a chant. Bare feet for beauty, bare feet for power. Tolu's sandals began to feel hot. She tried to move but couldn't. The whispers seemed to trap her, pulling her toward the center of the room. Suddenly, Shalewa opened her eyes and spotted Tolu. Her face was calm, but her voice was ice-cold. "You shouldn't have done that." Tolu begged Shalewa to explain. With a heavy sigh, Shalewa revealed her secret. "Do you think my success is ordinary?" she asked. "Every strand of hair I touch becomes beautiful because I draw power from the bare feet of my customers. Their connection to the earth fuels my gift." "But how?" Tolu stammered, her eyes wide with fear. "When people remove their shoes, they give me access to their energy," Shalewa said. "It's not harmful, just enough to keep my gift alive. But when someone breaks the rule..." She paused, her voice dropping to a whisper. "The floor demands a sacrifice." Tolu's heart pounded as the glowing floor began to creep toward her. Tolu managed to escape that night, but she never spoke of what she saw. Shalewa's salon continued to thrive, and no one dared to question the no-shoes rule again. As Shalewa's fame grew, so did the curiosity surrounding her salon. Everyone wanted to know the secret behind her unmatched success. Rumors began to circulate about her no-shoes rule, and while many dismissed them as baseless gossip, one person decided to investigate: Ada, an ambitious journalist known for exposing hidden truths. Ada had heard whispers of strange occurrences at Barefoot Beauty Palace, of whispers late at night, of customers feeling drained after their appointments. Determined to uncover the truth, she booked an appointment under a false name and carefully planned her visit. When she arrived, she followed the rules, removing her shoes and stepping onto the cool marble floor. But she had hidden a small recording device in the hem of her dress. She observed everything, noting the unnaturally pristine floors and the peculiar way Shalewa's hands seemed to glow faintly as she braided her hair. Ada struck up a conversation with one of Shalewa's assistants, a nervous young woman named Bissy. "This place is so clean," Ada remarked casually. "It must be hard to keep it this way with so many customers." Bissy hesitated before responding, her eyes darting nervously toward Shalewa. "Madam likes everything to be perfect," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's part of her success." Ada pressed further, lowering her voice. "Doesn't it seem strange? The rules, the whispers people talk about." Bissy's hands trembled as she adjusted the towel on her shoulder. "I can't talk about it," she muttered. "Please don't ask me." Ada knew she was onto something. Ada decided to take a bigger risk. That night, she hid in a car parked across the street from the salon, waiting for everyone to leave. She had noticed that Shalewa always locked the salon herself, long after the last customer had gone. At midnight, she saw Shalewa enter the salon, barefoot as always. Ada grabbed her camera and slipped out of the car, sneaking to a window where she had a clear view inside. What she saw made her breath catch in her throat. Shalewa was standing in the middle of the room, humming her eerie tune. The marble floor began to glow, and faint, shadowy figures appeared, swirling around her like a mist. Ada fumbled with her camera, snapping photos, but the flash went off, illuminating her hiding spot. Shalewa's head snapped toward the window. Her eyes, normally warm and inviting, glowed with an unnatural light. Ada ducked, her heart pounding, and scrambled back to her car, clutching her camera like a lifeline. The next morning, Ada published her article online, accompanied by blurry but chilling photos of Shalewa and the glowing floor. The city was in an uproar. Some people dismissed it as a hoax, but others, including former customers, came forward with their own strange experiences. Shalewa denied the accusations, calling them vicious lies meant to tarnish her reputation. But behind closed doors, she was furious. She knew her secret was no longer safe. Meanwhile, Ada wasn't done. She contacted Bissy again, pleading with her to reveal the truth. At first, Bissy refused, terrified of what might happen. But after days of persuasion, she finally broke down. She draws power from the earth through her customers' bare feet, Bissy confessed. The floor is enchanted. It takes energy from everyone who steps on it, and that energy keeps her gift alive. Ada pressed further. And the whispers? What about the whispers? Bissy's voice dropped to a whisper. They're the voices of those who broke the rules. The city authorities decided to investigate the salon after the article went viral. When Shalewa heard about this, she panicked. She knew the enchantment on the floor couldn't be explained away. In desperation, she decided to perform one final ritual to strengthen her power and erase all evidence of her secret. That night, she gathered in the salon with her closest allies, 2 other women who had helped her maintain the enchantment over the years. They stood barefoot in the center of the glowing floor, chanting in unison. But something went wrong. The floor, instead of glowing softly, began to crack, emitting a blinding light. The whispers grew louder, turning into agonized screams. The shadowy figures from before reappeared, this time more defined. They were the spirits of those who had unknowingly sacrificed their energy to Shalewa's success. "Shalewa, you've taken too much," one of the spirits hissed. "The balance has been broken." Shalewa screamed as the spirits surrounded her, pulling her toward the center of the room. Her allies fled in terror, leaving her alone with the angry spirits. The next morning, the authorities broke into the salon to find it in ruins. The once pristine marble floor was cracked and blackened, and Shalewa was nowhere to be found. The assistants who had fled the night before came forward, confessing everything they knew. Ada's article was updated with the new revelations, and the story spread like wildfire. The salon became a place of fear and curiosity, with people visiting just to see the ruins of what was once the most famous salon in the city. Shalewa was never seen again, but the legend of Barefoot Beauty Palace lived on. Some say she was taken by the spirits, while others believe she fled, her powers stripped away. The salon was abandoned, left to decay, but some nights, passers-by claim they can still hear faint whispers. Bare feet for beauty, bare feet for power. And in the shadows, a figure watches, barefoot and waiting.